Back to Morning Joe. Beautiful live picture of the White House at 7:36 here on the East Coast. Joining us now, member of the Homeland Security Committee, Republican Senator James Lankford of Oklahoma. Also with us, former U.S. attorney, now an NBC News law enforcement analyst and star podcaster, Chuck Rosenberg. Good morning to you both. Senator, I'll start with you. We got a bunch of people want to ask you a bunch of different questions. I want to start with the work you're doing on election security. In some ways, you seem to be a lone man in the woods trying to get the attention of your Senate colleagues to do something serious and effective on the question of securing our elections based on what we learned about what happened in the 2016 election. What's the status of your work there?
So we're actually getting pretty close on the text on it, trying to get agreement. It's something Amy Klobuchar and I have worked on for 2.5 years to be able to work through the process on. But we're not waiting on the legislative part of it, the same as we did in 2018. We're working with Department of Homeland Security, and with the funding there, we've added about $380 million in funding grants to the states. They've already have that money. They've already started implementing it. We have now people with security clearance in every single state. That's a dramatic change from 2016. We've got additional cyber protections on every single state that wants to be able to get access to it. They're not compelled, but almost every state has done that. And of the 5 states that didn't have auditable elections, only one of them will be left by 2020. So we've made a lot of progress. I'd love to see this piece of legislation done because I don't want us to ever forget learning it, but learning the lessons of 2016. But I do think we're already implementing most of this already right now.
Election interference has become this broad sort of catch-all term for what happened in the 2016 election. What specifically are you looking at, and what can happen from the government side? We know some of the social media companies have a responsibility to do their part, but what can you all do specifically to protect the elections?
So very perceptive to be able to split that up. A lot of people try to combine it. You've really got interference as far as trying to attack election officials, attacking websites, trying to get to voter rolls. Those were the things that were happening behind the scenes in cybersecurity. There was also the influence portion of it they were doing on social media, trying to get the message out. So the influence is not the area we're working on. We're working on the rest of it. Quite frankly, we've had lots of good conversations with social media groups to say you are responsible for your private platform to be able to make sure that people aren't misusing this platform, and they have stepped up significantly in the way they're trying to be able to handle that.
Good morning, Jim. It's Claire.
Good morning, Claire. How are you?
I'm great. Good to see you. By the way, life out here is wonderful.
Good to not see you, but good to hear you.
I wanted to ask you about your government shutdown bill. You and Maggie Hassan have tried a different tack here. Maggie, a great senator from New Hampshire. What you're trying to do is interesting. You're basically cutting off congressional delegation trips, known as CODELs, to members of Congress if the budget is not done. I was never a CODEL person, but you and I both know that some of my former colleagues are CODEL people that go on multiple trips a year on the taxpayer dime. This is a unique and different way to approach it. Tell me what you think. I think the chances are probably slim and none that this ever sees the light of day. I don't see Mitch McConnell taking up this mantle of reform. Am I being unfair?
You are actually on that, Claire. For one, I would say you're typically a very, very fair voice, but this has had wide bipartisan support, including from the leader's office. The president has spoken about it. We've had other folks that have actually engaged on this as well. When this went through the Homeland Security Committee, which you used to sit on with me on that, it had every single Democrat supported it, as well as all but 2 of the Republicans on it. So this is one that I really think matters, and it goes beyond just the CODELs. It's official travel at all. So members could not travel home on weekends to be able to see their family or to be able to catch up on what they're doing back in their states. We also have mandatory quorum calls every single day in the House and the Senate. What it basically says is if we get to the end of a fiscal year, we don't have all the work done on the appropriations bills, there's an automatic continuing resolution that holds federal workers and their families harmless, holds the American people harmless, but members of the House and the Senate and our staff can't leave Washington, D.C. We're in session every single day, including weekends, and we can't move to something other than appropriations. This basically locks everybody in a room and says, when you work this out, you can leave town. But until then, this is the priority, is the appropriation bills.